Namaskar, good evening. Welcome to this special stream on StudyIQ IAS English. My name is Bhuvan Apurvaja and I welcome each one of you, those who are joining me in this special live stream on this momentous day, on this red letter day indeed, not just for the Indian Space Research Organization but also for our great nation. Once again, I welcome each one of you as in this stream we will take a look at the events of the day that unfolded, especially as India now goes ahead in its effort to make history. As India prepares to become the fourth nation only after the United States, Russia and China to land successfully on the moon. I welcome again each one of you, those who are watching me live and those who will be watching this during the course of the days and time to come thereafter. Good evening, Bulbul and Madhusudan. You guys are most welcome. Right, so this is the event. This is the shots that we had earlier this afternoon. Anyways, if some of you missed it, well, don't worry. We'll take a recap, a relook at the events of this day. Chandrayaan-3 now already on its way to the moon. Destination Moon is the next pit stop for ISRO and India. And so in this short presentation, we will take a look at the events of the day, including the reactions that came in. We will also take a brief recap at the objectives of the mission. And thereafter we will understand as to what to expect once our whole space equipments land on the surface of the moon, on the lunar surface. Right? So let's go forward. Once again, do capture these shots in your memory. This is a proud day indeed, not just for ISRO again, but for all of us Indians, as we aspire to become a part of an elite club, a nation that was once mocked, in fact, as recently as a few years ago by the Western media, saying that, well, our moon mission and our Mars mission are not good enough. Well, they will probably be eating humble pie come the August of 23rd, 2023. So going forward, well, you can join me on my Telegram channel. This is my Telegram channel. Go ahead, scan this, become a part of this, and you will see that it's an informative platform where we engage with our students constructively, and most of the topics that we discuss here comes out of those interactions. As well as I have a brief announcement for all those of you who are appearing for the civil services next year. Well, you can go sign up for the Prelims to Interview program that is now closing admissions in its final phase. The admissions closing and the class is beginning on the 22nd of this month. Make haste, choose the subject of your preference. Go ahead, sign up, use the code BALIVE as that assures you a substantial discount. Right, so getting back to our discussion for the day, well, this is a poignant image that I wanted to share with all my viewers, all my students this evening. This is where we have started from, our Ariane mission early in just after the 1960s, 70s. And now here we have Chandrayaan-3 on LMV-3, one of India's most flagship carriers, heaviest in fact, and now headed towards the moon. As of now, it's already in space. So you realize that we have come a long way. And that this journey has not been easy. This has been a journey of trials and tribulations, of tests, and still ISRO has shown through. And so in its third iteration, in its third attempt, well, we can fervently pray that we land and stick the landing this time. But that takes nothing away from the fact that ISRO has already done us all countrymen and women proud. So going forward, well, firstly, let's quickly understand very briefly a recap like I told you. So, well, ISRO is now looking towards the lunar South Pole. Up until now, you have had the lunar missions that were largely focused on landing around the equatorial area of the moon. So, what changed then? Why is it that suddenly ISRO, and not just ISRO, you have the other space agencies across the world, suddenly, why is this renewed interest in the South Pole? Well, obviously, it's got to do with resources and what else. So, you're looking at water ice, minerals and rare elements which are found in the lunar South Pole, and these can be harnessed by mankind, by humankind for their own benefit, not just in the outlook of bringing them back to Earth, which is only a possibility or a probability right now, but in fact using the moon and the surface of the moon as a base camp for making sure that you can undertake deep space missions effectively and efficiently. So you realize that the presence of the water ice on the surface of the moon, well, you can split it into hydrogen and oxygen, which you can use to fuel your rockets thereafter. And once you're able to do that, Well, you are looking at enabling in-space refilling and making deep space exploration more cost effective, which is why it has been postulated that the lunar South Pole is now a prime candidate, a prime real estate in fact, for most of the countries now looking at the lunar South Pole as a base camp for their deep space missions. India also now making sure that it is in this queue. But first, we have to realize that, well, there's a long way to go before that happens. We have had the Chandrayaan-3, the Chandrayaan-2, and suddenly the Chandrayaan-3 now. It's an incremental step that we are taking. And so this is in the larger run-up to the Gaganyaan-3, where India will be now sending crewed missions to the space, to the moon. So we have to realize that the importance of Chandrayaan-3 becomes manifold and quite important for all of us to in fact grasp. That this mission has to go absolutely perfectly if Gaganyaan-3 has to go on time. Good evening, Arka. How are you? Welcome guys. So let's go forward. So if you look at what we have done so far, so Chandrayaan-1 in the year 2008, and well, the whole outlook was once again, you see that Indian Space Agency, the ISRO, was looking at the lunar South Pole. So you had the Chandrayaan-1 in 2008, which went ahead and detected the presence of water. Thereafter, the Chandrayaan-2 mission, which unfortunately was unsuccessful because once the lander and the rover, the whole lander was going and trying to land, have a soft landing on the surface of the moon, which means it comes down gradually rather than coming at a high speed and crashing, which would be a hard landing. So you had the lander and the rover, that whole system failed to decelerate. Because of that soft landing wasn't possible. It crash landed on the surface of the moon. However, please realize that we still had takeaways from the Chandrayaan mission, especially the second one, insofar as the orbiter that was a part of that project that gave us vital information regarding the surface of the moon. Having taken those learnings, now you find that the Indian Space Agency, the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, now has accommodated all those learnings, learned from his mistakes, and gone ahead with a renewed thrust and in fact a totally different approach. So in the press conference leading up to this launch, the ISRO chairman, the director in fact, he goes on to say that now we are looking at minimizing the risks, looking at what can go wrong and addressing them beforehand. So this has in fact been the primary change insofar as the outlook of ISRO vis-a-vis Chandrayaan-2 is concerned. Now when we go forward, let's look at very quickly what the Chandrayaan-3 mission and the components of that mission are. So you're looking at the carrier, which is the LVM-3, India's heaviest, biggest carrier so far, which is now headed into space. And so you realize that, well, there are 3 stages of ignition, 3 stages of boosting that is required. So what we saw earlier today, this afternoon, was the first stage, where you had the 2 strap-on rocket boosters, which give momentum to the whole massive machine that is the LVM-3, take it up into space. Thereafter you have the second stage, the Vikas engines indigenously made that come into action, into operation. And once it has reached that particular height, well, you realize that Chandrayaan-3 has now got its cryogenic engine. In fact, when this afternoon, when the person on the mic of the ISRO said, well, cryo stage activated successfully, you can realize how many people would have heaved a collective sigh of relief. Because once again, what you are realizing is that, well, you have solid mixture, a liquid mixture that is a part of the fuel and that is oxidized by oxidizers, which means that you need to have the quantity, the temperature, all of those parameters absolutely right for it to function flawlessly, which in fact has been done by ISRO today. So once you realize the complexity of this whole project, well, you come to the business end of the discussion. You are looking at 3 modules, the propulsion module, the lander module and the rover module. Well, the regular students of this class will know that the orbiter module is not a part of the Chandrayaan-3 project. In fact, that was a part of Chandrayaan-2, and you had all the information that orbiter gathered during its project, during its course of mission during Chandrayaan-2, which has now been incorporated in Chandrayaan-3, right? So the propulsion module will propel the lander rover configuration to an orbit of 100 kilometers above the moon surface, and the names Vikram and Pragyan remaining unchanged from Chandrayaan mission 2. Right? Sure, Nalajana, that's true too. Alright, so just quickly look at this. So this is the whole mission. This is the propeller part, the propulsion module, which in fact has a payload called SHAPE, which will study the spectropolarimetric signatures of planet Earth in the near infrared region, in the near infrared wavelength. So you have these individual components, modules that are carrying payloads with them. After all, they are not going there for tourism, it's for extensive measurements, studies, research. And so you find that the propulsion module, the lander module and the rover module all have payloads attached with them, right? So the propulsion module has the payload SHAPE, and so you realize right now, as of now, when we are speaking in this live broadcast, well, what you can understand is that our Chandrayaan must be undertaking these maneuvers on a consistent basis right now. This orbital velocity that it has to achieve so as to eventually escape the gravitational field of Earth, planet Earth. And so before it undertakes this arduous journey, which will eventually culminate on the August 23rd that has been announced by the ISRO chairman, well, what you are going to see is that our Chandrayaan-3 is going to be taking these maneuvers over the course of the next 28 to 30, 45 hours, and eventually then progress onto this space mission towards moon, right? So let's go forward very quickly. And so you realize the other modules that I'm talking about. So you have, this is the rover module. This is a rover, the 6-wheeled rover, right, which will be in fact traveling on the surface of the moon, carrying out experiments. And in fact, it has been said that the Ashok Stamp will be a part of the footprint, the tire print of the rover. At the same time, you're looking at the lander that has its individual payloads, ILSA as well as chaste payload, which will be studying the near surface plasma ions, carrying out research regarding thermal properties of the surface of the moon. All of that again to be done by the lander mechanism, the lander propulsion. Good evening, Kegel. Absolutely, I agree. Indeed, it's absolutely, I completely echo those sentiments that yes, it's a proud day for all of us. I can't help but smile because it's been a journey that, and we'll come to that in fact, when we go forward in this discussion, that well, the Chandrayaan-2, the disappointment of Chandrayaan-2 has taught lessons not just to ISRO but also to us, that well, we are still a learning nation, but then that spirit, that scientific temperament that our constitution talks about is well alive and kicking in fact, and we will see a small glimpse of that too, right? So let's go forward. So this is what we are looking at, say around August the 23rd. After the propulsion module, like I told you, goes up to that height of 100 kilometers above the moon surface. Thereafter, the lander rover module descend towards the moon surface. This is where Chandrayaan-2 went wrong. However, we can be absolutely sure that ISRO would have done its homework, and so on August the 23rd, you are going to look at the lander slowly descending, making a soft landing on the surface of the moon. Thereafter comes our brilliant rover, our 6-legged, our 6-wheeled rover, which comes and then traverses the surface of the moon. And bear in mind, all of this happens in one lunar day, which is equivalent to 14 Earth days, which means that the best time for this landing to happen has to be at around the period of dawn, so that you can make the maximum amount and cover the maximum time period of the lunar day, right? So this is what we are going to expect on August the 23rd. Let's go forward then. So this is what I'm talking about, the crowds earlier today. So now that we have discussed the theory, what you need to know in terms of the whole mission, well, let's revisit this momentous day now, guys. So you had this packed gallery in Sriharikota, and this is not a India versus something cricket match going on or a sports match going on or some concert. This is in fact India, the people of India sitting there, learning, admiring, supporting our organizations, our scientists, our engineers. And so this is again what the scientific temperament that I was talking about. And so when you go forward, well, like the elephants, we the Indians have a long memory too. And so this image, this poignant image of the then ISRO chairman K. Sivan, who was in fact consoled by the Prime Minister after the eventual unsuccessful outcome of Chandrayaan-3, well, that lived long in our memory. And guess what? K. Sivan sir was there today in Sriharikota as he was bearing and looking at the proceedings of the launch of Chandrayaan-3. And so a silent prayer probably that he has a smile on his face on August the 23rd. It is in fact the hard work of all previous chairmen, all scientists and engineers who have been a part of this project right from 2008 and before. This is also a day to recollect and remember those heroes, Vikram Sarabhai, Abdul Kalam and the rest. I'll be amiss if I miss names. All of those individuals who laid the foundation of such an organization such as the Indian Space Research Organization, now that we are reaping the benefits of those, that the vision of these men, right? So this is what we are hoping for on August 23rd, a smile on the face of K. Sivan. And so then straight after the launch was in fact confirmed to be successful by the ISRO Command Center, you had the reactions pouring in, and most importantly, coming in from the first citizen, the Supreme Commander of our Armed Forces, Honorable President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmu, first coming out with her congratulatory message for ISRO, followed by the Prime Minister, who is currently visiting France. And yet, you had this host of messages, not just again from the senior individuals in the Government of India hierarchy, but also from cricketers, politicians, Bollywood individuals, common citizens, all rejoicing on this day, and rightly so, because again, this is a red letter day, not just for ISRO, but also for India. Bear in mind that we will become the fourth nation only to have achieved this. In fact, in the recent past, you have had countries like Israel, Japan, UAE, who have tried to do what India is doing and have been unsuccessful. So again, this is a challenge, but I am sure that you will agree that ISRO is well up to the task and that we will see a positive outcome come August 23rd, 2023, right? So let's go forward. So, well, a job well begun is only half done. So yes, the launch has been smooth. The space faring object, its health is doing fine. Yet, as the ISRO chairman says, Chandrayaan-3 is a very important step. Landing this time is very important because unless you land, you cannot take samples, you cannot land human beings, essentially hinting at the fact that Chandrayaan-3 has to go absolutely flawlessly if India is to take Gaganyaan-3 and make it into a reality, right? And so the ISRO chairman also announcing that the Chandrayaan-3 soft landing will be taking place at 5:47 p.m. In fact, this is the approximate time that will be confirmed later, but 5:47 p.m. on the 23rd of August. Set your calendars and your reminders today itself, because this is going to be another epochal day in the history of India. If we were to do this, and I'm sure that we will, like I told you, we become only the fourth entity ever throughout the history of this planet Earth to have landed successfully, conducted a soft landing on the surface of the moon, and then carried out the explorations through our rover. Right? Let's go forward. So, this does bring to the end of this short recap that I had for you of this momentous day, guys. You know, and as civil service aspirants, you will understand the magnitude of this day. You know, you will look back at this day in the years and the decades to come, and probably this will be the day that will define the future of India's spacefaring ambitions. And so with a prayer in my heart that we do absolutely fine and that Chandrayaan-3 in fact goes ahead and does all that it has been designed for. With that, we come to the end of this very short stream, which is in fact a recap of all that happened today on this momentous day, on this red letter day, when Chandrayaan-3 now is headed towards the moon and is carrying with itself the hopes, the aspirations and the dreams of 1.4 billion Indians. On that note, it's a wrap from me, Bhuvan Apurva Jha. Before I let you and inform you that go ahead, like this stream and share it with your friends and family. And do ensure that you join me tomorrow morning 8 a.m. for the daily news analysis as you always do. Until I see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., it's a wrap from all of us here at StudyIQ IAS English. Thanks for watching.